I want to introduce you to Darren. Now, Darren was on my FastTrack mergers and acquisitions program just a couple of months ago. And I taught him my speed acquisition process. And believe me, he ran with it. So he immediately went off and started buying businesses in one particular sector. He'll tell you all about that on the video. And he's done 7 acquisitions in just 5 weeks, which is truly incredible. It just goes to show if you've got a process, if you've got a system, if you've got the confidence, and if you've got the knowledge, you can make this happen. I hope you enjoy the interview. So Darren, tell me what's been happening since last time we met, last time we spoke. I know you've been busy, but actually before that, just give me a minute of background on your acquisition and business journey to date.
Okay, so as you know, Jonathan, I've got a background in IT and telecoms. I've had a group of businesses in that space for the last kind of 15 years or so. And over the last 2 years, I've dropped organic growth completely and grown those through acquisition. And just kind of moving on from there, last year, my daughter, who's a hairdresser, she came to me and said, look, I want to open my own salon. And I said, well, why would you open a salon? Go and find one that's already open with staff and customers and what have you. And I took the experience in buying IT companies into buying a hair salon. And in all truth, I found the process incredibly easy in comparison. And actually, knowing nothing about the sector beforehand, what I found out is the margins in this space are quite good. So over the last kind of 4 or 5 weeks, we sent out some letters, and we sent 1,500 out just to some salons around the area. And out of 1,500, we had just over 300 people respond to it.
That is an absolutely insane response. Now, I think I know why that was, but what were the reasons when you analysed it? Why were you getting so many people contact you?
I think, when you talk to the owners, you get a mixed kind of bag of, we were thinking about it anyway. Our salon's fantastic. We think it's at the right, it's at the right part of the cycle to sell it. I think in reality, there was an element of COVID that tipped some people over the edge that were already thinking about it. And we've had quite a mixed bag of, businesses that are, they're just, it's a one man, a lady in a salon with maybe a little helper over the weekend. And then you've got some that are quite well established, been running 20, 30, 40 years. And the owners are just ready to move it on. And I think COVID's tipped them over the edge. Yes. The uncertainty about whether it's going to come back, whether they're going to have a repeat of the closure. I think it's given people a lot of time to think over the last 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you usually get an uptick of interest in people wanting to sell in January when they've had the Christmas period to think about it and think about the future. And I guess the lockdown has forced people to think very seriously about the future. So it's kind of accelerated all those retirement sales. It's accelerated all the people who think I might do it in a couple of years, and now they're all doing it now. So you went into this at just the perfect time, didn't you?
I think so, yeah. It's been a real eye-opener. When we sent the letters out, I think I was hoping for 20, 30 people to contact me.
Yes.
And, 3 or 4 days after the letters went, the phone, luckily we'd set up a circle loop number rather than giving out my personal mobile. So I was very quickly able, because, the phone went absolutely bonkers. It was ringing every 2 or 3 minutes right the way through the day, all over the weekend. I had people calling me at 9:30 Sunday night, and I had to very quickly bring someone in and give them access to the circle loop system just to field those calls and start to try and qualify some of these in or out very quickly. And set a process up where we can then funnel them through a pipeline and get those questions out of the way quite early and work out whether they would be suitable for us or not.
And just for people who aren't familiar with what we're talking about, when we say about the letters, this is our prospecting letter
template that we actually put through the postal system. We don't email it, we post it. The circle loop is the methodology of keeping all of these calls out of your personal mobile phone, and also being able to record them and looking on the dashboard to see which missed calls and voicemails there are, and then asking the questions. Are there criteria, checking questions to assess, is this someone worth talking to for 15 minutes, or is this like a 3-minute phone call, move on to the next one?
That's it. And we, we were quite keen to take on businesses where we didn't have to manage them on a day-to-day basis. So in order for that to happen, they needed to have a certain level of staff, supervisors, salon managers, whatever you want to call them, where we could just buy a business that's been there for 30 years, let's say, and just let it carry on running, and we'll just apply our own touches. So those first initial calls were very, very quick, 2 or 3 minutes. Tell me about the team. Tell me, how long have you been established? And what we were trying to do is kind of weed out almost the businesses where the owner is a high fee earner, or the business is just too small for us to do anything with. And we were able to kind of qualify a lot of that out and end up with, originally we had maybe 100 out of the 300 where they looked suitable, and we dropped them into our CRM, had some more conversations, asked them for some financial data, and kind of fed them through the funnel, and that's where we are today. I think we've got about 40 left in there, and we've just sent another batch of 1,000 letters out.
Okay, yeah. So for clarity, when you said the owner isn't a high fee earner, that's because if you take that high fee earner out of the business, then 60% of the business disappears out the door.
And they'll always, I think you coined this term, Jonathan. The business owners will always tell you that next year is going to be their best year, and the opportunity is in the future, and it's not in the past. And actually, so when you talk to them and say, well, actually, you contribute half of the revenue to this business, what are your plans when you sell it? Well, I'm going to put the feet up. Okay, well then we can expect, especially in the sector we've gone after, where clients are very loyal to
it's a relationship business, isn't it?
Absolutely. So we could, it was a high risk to us, and we could expect that if someone left, if the owner left, and they were generating 50%, we were anticipating 30 to 40% of that revenue would go somewhere with it, or it certainly give the client a decision to make, which was a risk. We've been looking for businesses where the owners just manage the business. They've got a team of people in the salon, so we can by and large take over that business, add value to it, but by doing very little at all, we know it will carry on running for another 10, 20 years at the same level of revenue.
Yeah. So how big are these businesses in terms of revenue and profit?
So actually, the ones we're looking at are 200,000 upwards, and we've not found one yet that's gone above 350,000. So they're in that neck of the woods.
Yes.
My background in tech, we've not traditionally gone after businesses that small, where they're typically a lot bigger. But actually, with a £300,000 hair salon, you can, if you run it properly and you don't treat it as a lifestyle business, you can generate quite comfortably 80 to 100,000 of cash out of it after paying your cost. So whilst an individual salon's not particularly exciting, if you go after them in volume, then actually, you spread risk across different locations, different businesses. It starts to make some real sense. There are also a lot of, sub 100,000 turnover salons. And those were the ones that we just, they're not for us. We can't do it.
That's not really a business. That's a salary, isn't it? That's someone's personal income rather than a sustainable business.
Yeah. And the thing that's been playing, in the back of my mind throughout the last kind of 4 weeks that we've been running this is deal flow. Where we've had such a volume of inquiries, we were able to, we're not kind of being held up on any one business. We're not negotiating with a mindset of we're desperate to get this one over the line. It's, well, we've got another 10 that we've got to make calls to.
Well, exactly. It makes you a better negotiator because you don't get emotionally involved because there's another one, and by the time you get onto the next phone call, you've forgotten the last one. You're not wedded to it. And you would have heard me say before that when I see someone who's just got one business, one company in their pipeline, and they're talking to that one company and they feel they have to buy it to prove that they can do the deal and come back to me and say, Jonathan, I did it. That's put so much pressure. You become a motivated buyer. Yes. Which is not a good position to be in, is it?
No, it's not. And I've had people. A lot of the people that I've spoken to, they've had their business for some time, and they're looking at it as a retirement option. I've also had a reasonable number where there's a level of ill health in the mix, be it the owner, be it the owner's family. And I've had people, I've had one guy ask me to take, he said, you'd be doing me a favor if you took my salon off of me. My wife's just been told, some very bad news and I need to just get out of the business. And, we've had to be quite disciplined in saying yes and no to certain people. And this particular guy was, we've had a few of those where people are like, please take my business. Don't give me any money, just take it off me. And we've had to be quite disciplined about saying no where the business is the wrong shape and size.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you could buy a lot of businesses for nothing. You could just get them handed to you, but do you really want them? Do they fit in with your acquisition strategy? Otherwise it can just drag down the group, can't it? So even though there's that tempting, almost a bit of an ego thing about, oh my goodness, I could just buy this business for nothing. Do you really want it? That's got to be the question.
Yeah, absolutely. And we very quickly, I've had to pull a team together to kind of help with. It was originally, I threw 1,500 letters out. I paid a lady around the corner from my house to lick and stick and get the things out the door. Okay. And over the last 4 to 6 weeks, we've had to put a whole team together to manage this now. I mean, we've bought another 6 on top. I bought a salon in May, which was the kind of eye opener, which I bought for my daughter.
So that was May during lockdown. It wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, I worked on that deal for several months, to get it right. A lot of time went into due diligence, and we completed that on the 23rd of May, which I've handed to my daughter. She's running that. She's put her own style into the business, and she's doing very well so far. But it was an eye opener, and that's when I decided, well, actually, let's send some letters out and see what else is out there. And since we sent those out towards the beginning of June, and we've closed and have the keys now to another 6 salons, and we have another 40 in the pipeline. We have another batch of letters kind of going out. We're sending out 250 a week at the moment.
Oh, that's just incredible. So what's that? That's 7 during lockdown.
7 during lockdown. We're in the region of just over 2 million of turnover that we've acquired since May. And
without sort of without wanting to this is your private information, but is there much money left in those deals, or have you been able to now structure it in such a way that you haven't got too much capital tied up in that?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously we're leveraging, positively leveraging the situation with COVID. So there's obviously a lot of government support and government funding options and financing and lending schemes knocking around for COVID. So, what that's enabled us to do, and we will continue to do this until, towards the end of October when these things start to expire, is we're able to put our capital into the deal. We obviously use whatever tactics we can to keep that as low as possible on completion day. And so we're able to put that cash into the deal and get it out a week later and just continuously recycle. So it's helped us it's helped us close a lot more opportunities than we would had this not been the case.
And of course, I understand how you're doing that, and I think that's a really smart methodology, which means that it's kind of an infinite scaling, isn't there? Because definitely in the short to medium term, you just keep on going.
Yeah, we're land grabbing. We're land grabbing over the next 2 or 3 months. I mean, we started off and we said, well, let's go for 10 businesses. Whilst we've got this opportunity to do so, let's go for 10 businesses. We're at 7. Over a month and a half. Let's go for 20. So if we get to 20, then we'll go for 30.
Yes.
And then what we're planning to do, we've set this kind of vision of 100, and what we're planning to do is get ourselves up to a really sizable number whilst we have the opportunity to do so, and then we've got a story to tell to the investment community.
Yes,
we can use this first wave of businesses to demonstrate the model and to then attract external investment where we may need it to help us scale then from 20, 30 up to 100.
And I suppose you can rationalize all of the back office functions because you want to keep tight control over the cash, and maybe actually you might even be making it a cashless business. Which is kind of in vogue at the moment anyway.
Yeah, no, we've made it cashless. I mean, what we've had to figure out, we didn't expect so much response from letters, and we didn't expect to be, the owner of 7 salons so quickly. So we've had to certainly try and learn the sector, which I knew nothing about 4 weeks ago. I still know, very little about it, but I know enough to get by. And we've had to learn how to run these types of businesses, and learn where the challenges are in this particular sector, where opportunity is. So we've had to draft a marketing guide to help us because it's really, social media is huge in this sector. And one of the kind of smaller challenges we made a decision about early on was the logistics of handling cash. And when we're operating these businesses remotely, by and large, so we made a decision. Let's use COVID, and we're cashless. We've had all of these posters made that say, your safety is our concern. We don't need to handle cash. We're not going to do it. So everything is card based. We're rolling out the same management systems in all of these different salons, so we can view them and run them and manage them from our offices here. We haven't got to kind of drive around the country picking up, boxes of cash every 2 days. It's made life quite easy, actually.
Absolutely, and I think that's you're right. You're right to leverage the sort of the current consumer mood around that, and also in any business where there's cash. There's always that little bit of doubt about why the till doesn't quite reconcile. It eliminates all those. It eliminates temptation, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And whilst we were kind of setting up the salon part, I'd already set up a brand for investment. So it's outside of the tech group. And the one thing that I discussed with my business partners is we weren't ever going to go after any cash-based businesses. We made that policy months and months ago, and then here we are buying what are traditionally cash-based businesses. So one of our concerns was people's hands going in the till. You can't quite ever really have confidence in that part. We go cashless. We use a system, so anyone that comes through the salons, they're booked in through the system. We know how much money should be going through the card machine on a daily basis. It should marry
up with one CRM, so you can have visibility from your office where you are now on exactly what the cash flow should be.
Yes,
like next week, for example, because of the pre-bookings.
Correct. So we know what should go through the tills in all of the salons today, tomorrow. We know what the booking utilization is for next week based on the rota. And it's been quite straightforward, that part, because I own an IT business. I understand those kind of systems and how they should work. So we went out to some of the kind of salon management software companies. We picked one that worked quite well. it's all paperless, so everything's through tablets and touchscreens. And we have total visibility across 7 salons as we would 100 from a system that we can view in our office and put on a TV screen.
So what you're doing now, you never have to do this again. That you've got the system in place. You just plug each acquisition into that. So tell me about the people aspect, because your sector has some similarities with the one that I'm currently investing in, where you've got typically a lot of younger people, who might require a duvet day occasionally, who see a job where they're paid just a little bit more per hour and they're off, or they're tempted away by competitors. You've got a lot of churn in the staffing, a bit of an HR nightmare, right?
Yeah, it is, and actually, it's the one thing I learned about this sector very, very quickly is the customers are loyal to the stylists. So if the stylist decides to up and move across the road to a salon, regardless of what you put in a contract, they will do it, and the customers will follow them. And the stylist has no moral compunction about saying, "This is my new where I'm going. Yeah, I'll book you in next." There's almost like they see that as a normal thing to do. That's right. So we recognise that quite early on, and I don't think we could ever fully prevent that from happening. But what we can do is, as we're rolling this out, and we had these initial discussions internally about, do we rebrand every salon and how, almost like the Tony and Lee kind of style, or do we just leave them be with their own branding as they and just run them? And originally we said, no, we'll leave them as they are. There's no point changing things if it's working. And we've kind of flipped from that to actually, no, let's build a brand. And we've got a guy now working with us. He's done an incredible job. And the reason we've done that is because we recognize that customers are loyal to the stylists. The stylists will go where wherever is on brand at the time. And it's all driven through social media and Instagram. I know nothing about either of those. And so what we're doing now is we're building out a model which ultimately says, if a stylist joins the business, they will be paid higher than market rates. They will have better training than anyone. They will be working in an environment that takes care of them and the customers. So we're trying to remove any need for them to go anywhere else. Again, they'd have to make a real decision to do that.
So you're developing a relationship between the business and the customer rather than the employee and the customer.
Yes, we are. So we're putting certain things into order. They're quite basic, but we know the customers go into these salons, and they always leave their kids at home. They always leave their husbands at home. We're only buying ladies' salons, by the way, and they want to come in and be cocooned in a world, that's all about them. So we're putting in really simple things like we're making it kind of smell. We're using White & Co. fragrances. We're putting in smart lighting so we can control the mood of the salon, just to make them feel a bit special when they come in. But we're really focusing on the experience for the customer, and we're focusing on building this kind of family for the staff. So those are the two most volatile parts of this sector, losing the customers or losing the staff. And we're doing a lot of work on. I didn't catch that. We're doing a lot of work on how we keep both of them really happy.
So, what is the plan then? So you're at 7 in a matter of weeks. Where will you be by the end of the summer? Where will you be, do you think, by the end of the year? And how much time is all this taking for you personally?
So, at the moment, because we're in this kind of COVID phase where we can go out and land grab as many as we can get hold of, really, that fit the criteria. So in that respect, my part of this this engine is converting a salon to a business that we then own. The resource I brought in is picking up all of those initial calls, They're doing all of the initial qualification. They're capturing all of the data and feeding it into our pipeline. All I then do is I say, right, analyze the data. If it looks good, have a call, negotiate a deal, and then I hand that back. And then all of the paperwork and due diligence is handled elsewhere. So that's allowing me to get through quite a lot. In terms of the kind of overall plan, we're really hammering it between now and the end of September, really, maybe mid-October, and we want to get up to a minimum of 20 at that point. After that point, then it's going to be slightly more settled in that we're aiming to do 4 a month, so 1 a week. And
that sounds perfectly achievable as well.
Yeah, and that, in terms of capitalization, that works for us. In terms of managing rollouts, managing, the whole process, we're quite comfortable with 1 a week. And we want to get up to 100, as I said. The plan is to stop at 100. We may get past that. We may fall short of that. But that's certainly what we're working to at the moment. And that's taking us to the middle of 2022 at this stage.
So if you can do 100 EBITDA per salon on average, 100 is, well, that's 10 million, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what would the exit value be on a group? Are you aware of any M&A activity within this world?
No, I'm not actually. It's not something I've looked at. We're buying the salons for on average 1.8 times multiplier. Some we're getting away with a lot less. There's quite a few actually. There's 3 we've bought where they want less than a year's worth of profit, which is great. We'll do that all day long. But what we've done, because we don't know what that exit looks like at the moment. We know it will generate quite a lot of cash for us along the way, but we've structured it as a group at the moment. So every salon is an individual business. We're not really looking at sole traders at the moment. We're looking at limited registered companies, and then we drop them into our group. Where it's necessary, we put a special purpose vehicle in between if we've got any deferred consideration or liability in the business, and then what that allows us to do down the line is either wrap the whole thing up and sell it as a group, or we can divest out salons individually.
So you could actually sell regional groups.
Yeah, exactly. Or individual salons. If we've taken a salon that's turning over, say, £250,000 and we've upped it to 300, and we've taken their EBITDA from 10,000 to 100,000, we could sell that individual business and make a hell of a return on it relatively quickly if we wanted to do so.
Yeah, no, that sounds really good. So, I've I use our template letter and probably a lot of the questions and criteria checking. What would you say has been the biggest takeaways from all of this? I mean, if you were to share some of the stuff that we've done together with anyone listening, what are the big ideas or the pivotal moments, would you say, Darren?
So there's 3 I can think of that stuck in my head actually throughout this. The first is get on with it. Don't send out 3 letters and hope for free call. Get these letters out in volume. They do work. I took your both of the letter templates. We tried them both. One worked much better than the other, but I'm sure the other will probably work better in different industries. Perhaps.
Exactly, different markets. Yeah,
certainly in this sector, the second letter worked really, really well. So get the things out, and you've got to spend money on postage and stamps and all these. And we spent in this first batch of letters, we spent, call it £2,000. We've acquired £2 million of revenue from a £2,000 marketing investment. They do work.
I do sometimes hear people have a little moan about how much postage costs, but then they forget the upside is so huge.
Yeah, look at the big picture. It's all right. You've got to spend £2,000, but look at the opportunity that can generate. The second is deal flow. That deal flow is huge. If you've got 40 opportunities in front of you, you very quickly build this mindset of, if that doesn't work off the cuff, move on. If that doesn't work off the cuff, move on. And it really, really does strengthen the negotiating position really, really well. And we've had some businesses where we've said, you know what, it's not for us. You want too much. Your terms of you can come back to us when things change. And they come and call. They called us a week later.
Well, exactly. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's been a real eye opener for us. And the third thing, which really stuck in my mind, was get people to heads of terms as quickly as you can.
I say that repeatedly, but I sometimes feel as though people don't realize how important that is.
Yeah, and I've been buying IT companies for a few years, and it's a much more protracted process. And I spent a lot of time analysing, negotiating, going back and forth on terms, and then getting to heads of terms, and actually get a deal thrashed out roughly. Get heads of terms signed. And you can see the mind shift in the seller when they sign those heads of terms. The deal's done. Mm. The fact that you're 2 or 3 stages away from that, and you can still change the structure of that deal thereafter. You can see emotionally in their mind they've sold their business when they sign that first document. So what I've been doing with these salons is you have these first few calls, you analyse a few sets of financial data. If it by and large fits the model, you put a relatively accurate offer in, but you get them to heads of terms, and then they dance to your tune after that.
Yes. Absolutely. No, that's 3 very, very good points. So, Darren, congratulations on your success so far. Maybe we'll catch up with you in a few months' time when you're into the 20s and the 30s.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for your time. Very interesting to hear your journey, and good luck for the future. Darren Jacobs, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I think what Darren has proven is that if you take my work, my system, and you implement it, you can have amazing results. If you'd like to find out more, you can get a free copy of Business Buying Strategies. There is a link in the video description below. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you'll get a notification every time I release a new video